They're fighting a war here and they're losing.
COVID-19.
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 Coronavirus outbreak.
This morning, I've declared a state of emergency in the province of Ontario.
At this point, we are closing our borders to all non-Canadian or non-permanent residents of Canada.
Hey Jill, or Jillian, whichever you prefer to be called now. How's it going? Today it's November 7th, 2020, and it has been a rough and crazy year. I'm making this video as a way for you to look back upon and reflect all that happened in 2020. This year was full of chaos, and it honestly felt like society was about to break. I want you to recall how life for you began to change as Corona took over the world. You may not remember, but the pandemic caused you to go through grief and took you through each of its 5 stages. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. This video is going to be structured around each stage of grief, and it's going to act as an archive for what you experienced and what you felt while attempting to navigate this new world. So Jill, or Jillian, sit back, relax, and allow me to take you for a trip down memory lane. You were at work when you got an email that said, all in-person classes at Trent were going to be cancelled. Classes are cancelled? It felt like Christmas came early for university students. The rest of the email said that classes would be delivered online for the rest of the school year. And you thought, no problem, I can attend class from my bed. This is going to be so easy. But boy, were you wrong. Switching to online learning was a really difficult transition. You had no motivation or will to complete any homework or even attend your classes. And your family could tell that school was stressing you out. Mom always asked if there was anything she could do to help you out, but unless she could attend the class for you and complete the assignments, she couldn't really help you out much. Luckily, you only had to attend online school for about a month and a half. So when school was over, you felt excited about summer. Even though you couldn't go out and hang out with friends in public spaces right now, you and your friends told yourself it's all going to be over by the time summer rolls along. You denied the severity of the virus, and you believed that the chaos would be short-lived. Every day you expected and waited to see a news clip stating, new vaccine for COVID-19 found. You didn't want to believe that this would become the new norm, so you resented it. It wasn't until the end of June, when all hope had been defeated, that your denial had passed, and all that was left in you was anger. Summer vacation was approaching. You had so many plans with your friends. You expected to be camping, having huge bonfires with tons of people, tanning and swimming at the beach, and going downtown with friends for drinks. But once you realized that the coronavirus wasn't taking a break for the summer, you felt lost. You quickly grew angry because this wasn't just going to be any regular summer. It was going to be a time to celebrate completing your first year at university. All of the stress and endless hours spent reading chapters were going to be rewarded with a fantastic kick-ass summer. But most stores were still shut down, and so were beaches and campgrounds, so you couldn't go out. You were also angry because you'd been called back to work and you were really enjoying your 3-month vacation from it. And even though hourly cleaning and thorough hand-washing protocols were put in place at work, it still didn't guarantee your safety, and that made you really anxious going into each shift. Also, having to work in order to live during a pandemic was incredibly frustrating. You were so jealous of the other university students that didn't have to work right now to afford school, and you wished you could be just as privileged as them. Also, you couldn't even visit your grandparents, which made you even more upset and angry because they're in their late 80s and you don't know when your last time with them is going to be. At the beginning of August, when masks became mandatory to wear in every store in Peterborough, you had a really hard time adjusting to the new accessory. You felt overwhelmed at work and you grew hotter throughout each shift. Though summer wasn't all bad, you spent most of it working, finding new hobbies to keep busy, and you occasionally saw friends for a small but socially distanced fire. You and the family kept busy with yard work. You stained the deck, you built a garden, and you spent a lot of time relaxing on the back porch. At times, however, you did feel really annoyed or sick of your family. But there weren't many places to go or people to see. So you found ways to manage, like going on solo walks or taking a long car ride. But the long-awaited season was coming to an end, and that meant school was rounding the corner. There would be another semester of online school. You thought, how am I going to go through a whole semester learning online? At this time, you quickly moved into stage 3, bargaining. Fortunately, you didn't stay in this stage for too long. It became clear that school is going to be taught online for the 2020-2021 academic year, at which point you felt desperate. Before going to bed each night, you would look up at the ceiling, put your hands like this, and say, please, please, can some higher power fast track this pandemic so my life can get back to normal? You started to think if there was any way you could have prevented this. You thought, if only I talked to my family members quicker about this, or if only me and my friends took it more seriously back in January. But you quickly realized there was nothing you could have done differently. You stayed home, you didn't go out with friends, you sanitized your hands nearly every minute at work, and you made sure to keep a 6-foot distance between yourself and customers. The virus spreading was completely out of your control, and school was days away from beginning, so you had to prepare yourself for the storm that was to come. Finally, you had accepted it. You accepted that life wasn't going back to normal anytime soon, and Corona was here to stay. The only way to get through these tough times was to accept them. You wanted to shake your fist and shout, "Fine, Corona, you win, I give up." Once school started, you were done living in a fantasy world where COVID would soon be over and life would just return to its natural rhythm. Instead of staying inside trying to wait out the pandemic, you decided to carry on with life. You went out more. You went for walks, shopped around downtown, and found ways to safely hang out with your friends again. After 2 months of having to wear a mask in stores, you finally became used to it and found that you actually preferred it. Your family had also accepted it as well. You had all stopped complaining to each other about following safety protocols and decided to embrace them and treat them as if they were normal. You knew the only way you could get through online school this year was if you accepted it and learned how to navigate it. Although, as the weeks went on and assignments began to pile up, you felt stressed and overwhelmed just as you did at the end of last semester. Online school was kicking your ass, and you began to feel depressed. Classes felt longer as the weeks went on, and the assignments seemed to never stop coming. You felt like you were just stuck in an endless cycle of catching up on everything, catching up on assignments, watching lectures, car payments, even phone payments. Just everything seemed to overwhelm you now. But if you remember, many of your friends in university felt the same way. They were so overwhelmed by online school, so you guys were lucky to be able to share each other's struggles. You felt extreme apathy towards school, and finishing a lecture felt like running a marathon, just complete exhaustion afterwards. And the numbers for COVID were hitting all-time highs, so it was depressing to even think about a future without Corona because who knew when that would be? You revealed to your parents about your stress and how overwhelming school was becoming, and they asked again if there was anything they could do to help, but sadly there still was not. Feeling like the world would never be the same again depressed you even more, and health officials stated that it could take up to 2 years for the pandemic to be over. But 2 years felt like light years away, and you didn't know if you could hold out for that long. If you remember during your first year at Trent, you always felt excited about class, and you were eager to listen to the professor. But you didn't feel that joy anymore. Instead, you dreaded class. You began to skip lectures because paying attention to the material and taking notes was just agonizing. But just before reading week, you got a cold with symptoms that resembled COVID. You had a runny nose and a sore throat, and it left you off work for 5 days. As you waited for the results, you were anxiety-ridden and terrified that you had contracted the virus you spent months hiding from. The thought of getting Corona made you cling to your bed for those 5 days. But I can't tell you how relieved you were when you had the results come back and they were negative. You felt safe again, and this near-death experience prompted you to adjust your mindset and get back on track with school. So, after the much-needed reading week, you became way more motivated to complete assignments and actually show up to your lectures. As well, you just felt more optimistic about life, and you had hope for the future again. Sure, COVID would take several more months to defeat, but you just couldn't sit and sulk in your room anymore. It just wasn't doing you any good. Assignments became easier to complete, and you found new ways to manage your stress levels. You would listen to music, go for car rides, go for runs, walks, or just pop on a Christmas movie to get in the spirit of the holiday season. Right now, I'm trying to act as if the world is normal, but now and then I do still get a little depressed about how COVID has changed things. But I remind myself that there will be a time where COVID will just be a thing of the past. But that knowledge lies with you, depending on when you're seeing this video. So Jill, I hope that this little video diary detailing your experience of Corona has brought back memories of the life-changing event. But most importantly, I hope it made you more grateful to be where you are right now. and remind you that life waits for no one. So do what makes you happy and don't wait till tomorrow. See you in the future.